Okay, folks, we've seen the first X-Men and the second, and now on to the third, X-Men: The Last Stand. Let's talk about it. So I am going to try and breeze through this one and not say as many as last time. And if you haven't noticed, I tend to get caught up on words. So, just try and, did it again, but manage my time and your time. I want to be considerate. You're welcome. So just to start off, I would say the premise of this one is solid. Continuing that off of the last two, you have the main idea of, well, there's sort of two premises. I don't know if that's the right word, but the one I'm talking about is, the mutant cure. Is it ethical to cure mutants? Is it the right thing? Because obviously there's a lot of stigma surrounding them, but it really is an interesting premise. And then the other one is the Dark Phoenix, which I'll just say, so I didn't know actually that this film was about, they were doing the Dark Phoenix plotline. And I was a little curious watching it because I know that, of course, not the most recent, you have the New Mutants, but prior to that, the most recent actual X-Men film is Dark Phoenix. So I'm wondering, what's the difference? Apparently this one doesn't follow, I'm not familiar with the comics, but apparently this one doesn't really follow it as much. And that's why they have the mutant cure thing. So maybe that one follows it more, maybe it does it better. They both don't have good reviews, neither this one or that one. That one definitely is far worse, from what I've seen. But we'll get there when we get there. Right now, X-Men: The Last Stand. So I actually like the tradition of both, I guess, this one and the last one, of introducing new characters into the fold, because you can't introduce them all at once or it gets too convoluted in the beginning. But if you slowly phase them in, then it's nice. So this one introduces Beast, which is a really cool addition. I mean, he's a fan favorite. I really like him. And then you also have two pretty underused characters. I would say you have Angel, who's really just thrown in there to give you more mutant sympathy. Has one speaking line. And the Kid for the Cure, who his power is taking away others' powers, and they use him to produce the cure. And he's more of a plot device than really a character. He could be anyone; it doesn't really matter. But just two really underused. And I'll talk about it later in this video. But it's even more unfortunate when some of the fan favorites are getting sidelined, for the purposes of not convoluting things. And then just another thing I noticed is that this is a very, very predictable movie. There's no thwarting of expectations. Everything goes pretty much, the minute you start a scene, I think the average person could bet how it'll end, because it's just simple. Nothing horribly wrong with that. All three of these have been pretty basic movies. They haven't really done anything genre defining. They're all solid, which is why the previous two were a B. I consider that solid, not harmful by any means. But I mean, I'll say that this one continues to trend, at least in the sense that, basicness, predictability. This film, again, this is sort of you can tell that I think they were going for an end of a trilogy in this one. And then, the next one is X-Men Origins Wolverine. So maybe they were just shifting gears into that one character. But you can tell that they do a lot of cop-outs in order to get things to work. So Jean Grey being killed off at the end, I sort of knew that they would bring her back, but, I wasn't certain. And, again, something predictable, but it's a cop-out. It's a cop-out entirely. And that, it takes away from the emotion of that finale. And it doesn't, the Dark Phoenix plotline, many people bring it up, but does it even really need to be here? It seems like, these two plotlines already struggle enough to balance it out. Maybe it wasn't even necessary. Something I actually liked about this one is that it sort of poses some ethical questions. So even, Charles is teaching an ethics class towards the beginning of the film. And so you have as I mentioned, the ethics of the mutant cure. You have the ethics of Charles putting Jean Grey down. And just, since the mutants have, Charles and Eric have always been competing, and they've both had their allies in their fight for each other. But now it really feels like a full-on mutant war, right? A lot of mutants are siding with Magneto because, Charles is taken out of the equation. But, and it really feels like it's divided between not just people and mutants, but now really mutants and mutants as well. And who's right? Obviously Magneto is portrayed as the villain. And most people would agree that he is the villain, but the line is, not as easy to tell as maybe, I don't know, another movie. Another cheap thing is that they sort of work up in the beginning that Mystique was captured, which is a pretty big win for them. And Magneto, they'll draw him out of hiding. But of course, she and a couple of other mutants are rescued pretty much instantly. Another cop-out, not a fan of it. It's lazy. And it brings her back into the fold. But it brings her back into the fold to take her out. And this is sort of what I was talking about, sidelining them. But first of all, Magneto, so the mutant cure, right? They package it in guns, and Mystique is shot after they go to break her out, right? And so Magneto, after doing all that, they break out some other mutants out of prison to use for his cause. Mystique takes the bullet, takes the shot. Magneto doesn't. So Mystique loses all of her power. She transforms back into a normal human right then and there. And Magneto's like, such a shame. And then he goes on, right? Pretty uncharacteristic, because up until now, otherwise, we've seen Magneto as sort of, we still see it when, spoiler, Charles dies later in the film, but he just feels that, it doesn't feel like he would do that to his most loyal henchmen, right? Just because she's human now. Just seems, a lazy device to get Mystique to turn on him later and to take her out of the equation entirely. So, like Mystique, Cyclops, who, is a pretty cool character, and it would have been nice to dive into his grief over Jean Grey, and then the feud between, Logan and, what's his name? Sam? I don't know. I'll put it in there in post. But, God, I should know it. Okay, anyway, Cyclops. It would have been cool to dive into that relationship, but instead, he goes to find Jean Grey. He does find her, and then he's killed. Pretty lame ending, right? He's not brought back. I was waiting for it the whole time. Didn't happen. And then also Rogue, who otherwise was a pretty interesting character. She gets less screen time than Bobby, which was just her love interest before, who's a cool character and all that. But do we really need to see that much of him? So Rogue just is gone for most of it. Why? It's so lame. Just bring her into the battle. Not cool. And then, but obviously, she gets the mutant cure, which is a cool little twist, but I would have rather seen her in the movie and then maybe decide that's what she wants, It's just really odd decision. So, and then in the film, we actually have Charles's death, right? Jean Grey kills Charles. She, fades him out of existence. And that caught me off guard. I did not expect them to do that, but then now that I think about it, they retcon it later with all the timeline shifts, right? I know this. But, it was still a little shocking. Obviously not sad or anything, because I know we will see Patrick Stewart as Charles again. Just shocking, I'll say. Maybe a little good, but not good or bad either. Not too far either direction. And then, so since Charles is taken out and, Jean Grey's a villain, Storm is put into the forefront in this movie. And I actually like that we get, she gets some depth in this movie, because she's a really cool character and she can do some badass things. And just wish they maybe had done it sooner. I feel like before she was just maybe a henchman or an ally, or just whenever they needed a weather-related attack. She was always, useful. But I liked her being one, maybe the main character. I guess Logan's pretty much always the main character, but up there, second main. One just quick scene I want to talk about is Magneto lifts the entire Golden Gate Bridge in one scene. And aside from being visually impressive, the visual effects are incredible. It's just a really cool scene. And I thought, it was impressive enough for me to share it in this video. I mentioned in my last video, which you can find right there, that the plot lines are not as, so there were many plot lines in that one, which I really did like, that they, weaved all together, all these different characters and their depth, and the plot lines together, they intersected. In this one, it does not feel that way at all. You still have multiple plot lines, but this time it feels they're contrived, not really tied in all that well, and it just seems like different, linear moments in time when they're going with one plot line, then they switch back to another. It doesn't really work. And unfortunately, after, as I said in the last video, I was very impressed by the finale, despite it being, far too long. This one, it feels void of any emotion, any weight, just, basic fighting, and pretty lame and predictable. As I say, if you haven't seen the film, again, spoiler, but Logan does kill Jean Grey. You can see it coming if you've seen, any of the movie thus far, which of course you have because you're watching it. And, you don't really feel anything. It's just not, it's not there, because maybe the confusingness of it all, and they just didn't really do a good job handling the ending, I'll say. So obviously I listed quite a few flaws in this video, and it does have more flaws than its predecessors, the previous two X-Men films, but I actually liked it quite a bit. I don't think it's nearly as bad as many people make it out to be, and I expected it to be. It's definitely not as good as the other two, though, but they're both solid, as I said earlier, or they're all solid, and I'm still going to give this film a B. It is admittedly a lower B. It's definitely on the lower side. There's quite a gap in between X-Men and X-Men The Last Stand, whereas the gap between X2 and X-Men is noticeably smaller. But anyways, so X-Men The Last Stand gets a B. That's my thoughts on the film. WandaVision review either tomorrow or Saturday, so keep an eye out for that. This episode should be epic because they all are. Who are you kidding? And I will see you in the next video you watch. Oh, also, X-Men Origins Wolverine. Stay tuned for that. If you're liking this X-Men series, subscribe, hit the bell to see all future videos, and